All right, guys, we're going to do a quick drive review on the 2018 Infiniti Q50 Red Sport 400, and I'm going to compare a couple of things to our car. This car has the Dunlop run flats, the worst tire in the world, and I drove this car back from the customer's house, and within minutes I already know how horrible these tires were. I totally forgot how bad they were because we only drove the car 15 miles with the tires before I ripped them out and switched them. But we're going to be replacing the tires and wheels next week with a 20-inch wheel, a lightweight rotary forged wheel with the Michelin Pilot Sports that I recommended in my initial video of the car. So the only difference that this car has as far as the touch and feel is the steering wheel. This has the Q60 Sport steering wheel, which is much nicer. It's got the ergonomic grips, but this car has the dynamic adaptive steering. And if you guys don't know what that is, I mean, there's a lot of computers and sensors that are trying to give this car a sportier type of feel. And just from the initial thoughts, this car's steering feels almost identical to the first generation of BMW active steering. And BMW active steering in a car that I had was my E60 BMW 5 Series. I had a 545 Sport back in 2004. And I remember, it was like this new technology, and they came out with it, and they said it's so much better. But to be honest with you, when I had my car, I remember, because I drive aggressive. I take, corners hard, and I drive hard. I remember the first time I drove the car, I literally hugged the corner too close, and I clipped the curb. And that's because the steering wheel input and the sensors and everything else, they're not really in sync. And that's the same feel that I get in this car. It's not really in sync because the input that I'm putting here, I'm feeling other things going on in the chassis that aren't really giving me the feedback and the confidence that I really want. So this is going to be an interesting drive and an interesting review because I'm having a hard time adjusting to this right now because I haven't driven a car that felt like this in 13 years. And my BMW 5 Series, that active steering that they had back then, it had nothing but problems. That my 5 Series went into the dealer for a replacement of the electronic components, and it never came out of the dealership. It was there for 72 days, and I basically had a lemon law of the car, got my money back, and I moved on. I said, I can't deal with this anymore. Every time they had to replace a component on the BMW, they had to connect the car through the CAN system, through the network. The network goes to corporate or to Germany, and they had to do a download throughout all the CAN modules in the car. And when the network would slow up and freeze up, all the modules would crash. And when the modules crash, you got to wait another 20 to 30 days to get new modules from Germany. It was a total clusterfuck. It really was. And I just can't deal with that in my life. I can't deal with having those headaches. So the ride quality is a little firmer, a little bumpier in this car, and it's because of the run flat tires, the Dunlop tires that are on here. They're absolutely terrible. Oh, I don't know why they manufacture these tires. It's almost like they're doing it to like hurt you in a way. Like, hey, we're gonna give you these shitty tires, the worst tires ever. But I don't know, something went wrong in their technology and their design of this tire. So we're gonna pass this guy here. And right now we're in the Sport Plus steering. And all right, wow, this is totally different. All right, here's the feedback that I'm getting. The way this car feels right now, I feel the sidewalls of the tire, they're rolling a lot. I feel them in the back. But the car actually feels, in this mode, we have Sport Plus, Sport, and Standard, and then that's the mode, and then we have Dynamic Plus, Dynamic, and Default. Now, it actually feels like the car has rear steer. It's a very weird feeling. I mean, I'm not used to this. A little bit of input, and it's making the chassis do a lot of reaction. And it's not really in sync with my inputs and what I want the car to do right now. So this is really weird. And this is why we didn't buy this. We heard a lot of reviews on this system, and they weren't good. And we didn't test drive the dynamic steering when we bought our Q50. I just knew right away, if there's that many people saying it sucked and it's weird, I was just relating that to the BMW. And now that I'm driving it, this is like a direct comparison to the BMW E60 that I had back in 2004. I guess it's an acquired taste. I mean, coming from, the GT350 that has incredible EPS, I mean, absolutely incredible. This doesn't feel like a BMW. like an M car, it does feel very similar to like the new BMW 5 Series. I did drive one of those not that long ago, and it has a similar system, but I think the Infiniti system is a little bit different as far as how they set it up and what they did to it. So I'm going to switch to standard. Standard mode, default. This is like the basic setting, and already I feel the weight and the feel in the steering rack did change. Now this feels a little bit like our car, but we're going to see how it does, when we get on the road. All right, guys, here we go. Let's see. Okay, I definitely, the standard default feels to me the most natural. But there it is. I'm just doing a quick wiggle of the steering wheel, and I'm feeling, steering input coming from the back of the car. What a strange feeling. It's just strange. I don't know. I guess it's something you have to get used to. And, I guess if I was driving this car every day, I would get used to it, because I did get used to it in my BMW. But, car technology has evolved so much since then. And to be honest with you, this customer and myself, we both had the E60 M5, with the V10. And I tell you, that was an amazing driving car. I love that car. That was one of the best driving cars that I've had. I didn't really buy it based on the styling. I still never was a fan of the Chris Bangle styling of BMW back then. I think he really hurt the brand and the brand image. But that car drove really well. And that car didn't have the active steering that the earlier E60s had, like the 545, M Sport, and the 550s. The M5 had a completely different steering, and it was like spot on. I mean, that car, man, it felt incredible. Had good feedback, good turn-in. I mean, the balance was incredible. When you hit that car in different modes, I mean, it was just balanced. It was done right. That car was engineered right. It just wasn't styled right. That's just my opinion. So we're in the standard mode now, and, look, I'm just putting a little input in the steering wheel, and I feel the sidewalls on these tires wiggling like crazy. It's just such a terrible tire, my God. Look at this. I'm putting a little bit of input. And the steering, the feedback here is pretty good, like it's tight, which I like. Our car is a little lighter, but I can feel more of what's going on in our car than this car. So I think if you're going fast, and you're going to, let's say if you're driving this car really aggressively, which, like I said, most guys aren't going to do that. If it's a daily driver, you're not going to do that. But if I drive it, I'm going to drive it like a nut. But I think if you're going really fast in this car, and you're going to do a panic maneuver, like a swerve, I think it's going to scare the life out of you. That's just my opinion, from what I'm feeling right now, with this just being in the car a couple of minutes. We cranked up the tire pressures a little bit too, because like I said, these tires, they compromise so much with the handling. They're just terrible. So it's like a Band-Aid solution temporarily. We just pumped up the tire pressure up to 40 psi. But when we switch the tires over, it's going to change this car dramatically. So we're going to get on some roads that I drive on a daily basis, and I'm going to take some turns, and I'm just going to give you guys some feedback to let you know what I think of it. So far, the standard mode feels the best to me. As far as the weight of the steering, I think that feels the best. I think the Sport Plus and the Dynamic Plus or whatever, that's just a little bit too much computer programming. That's too simulated for my taste. I just don't like it. And look at this turn. I mean, I whipped through this turn with our car, but these tires suck. They absolutely suck. And I'm not going to shift it. Like I said, I'm not driving this car to do that. I'm just driving it to give you guys, some feedback on the dynamic active steering. But it's a great car. I love the steering wheel. Oh my God. This steering wheel is absolutely awesome. I'm actually thinking about taking our steering wheel and, buying an extra one and ripping it apart and reshaping it and wrapping it. I just don't have the time. I mean, that's a very tedious and time-consuming task, and I just don't have the time to do it. And my wife doesn't really care. I'm the only one that cares, and I don't get to drive the car as much as she does, so I don't think it's worth the effort right now to do that. Yeah, I think the standard default, it's like identical to what BMW had 13 years ago as far as the feel, you know? The feedback I'm getting in the steering wheel, the feedback as far as the way the car changes over transitions. I'm going to put it into Sport Plus now and Dynamic. Actually, let's do Sport Plus and we'll do the default response. So I guess this is... Okay, so what this did, this actually slows the chassis response down a little bit. It's kind of hard to describe until you get in this car and drive it. So we're in Sport Plus, and we're in the default response setting. So that's probably the slowest setting. It's going to give you a little bit of a... Yeah, it's going to give you a little bit more roll, a little bit more lag. But like I said, it feels a little bit more natural. That's just my opinion. So I think the response needs to be in default in this car. Let's go back to Dynamic Plus. So now we're in Sport Plus and Dynamic Plus. And the car's tracking pretty straight. It's not wandering anywhere. And that's very common with some of these active steerings. The car's like all over the road. It does have a little bit bias to one side. I feel the left side. And that's probably by design, the way this car is set up. But, you know, the faster you go, it does feel a little bit better. But let's see. We're gonna see what this thing does. Another thing I noticed, I don't know if it's just me, but I think they upgraded the transmission programming. It seems a little bit better in this car than our car. I don't know why. I played around with the paddles when I picked it up, and I did not hit the limiters as quickly as I did in our car. And I think they may have put some sort of a buffer in the software on this version of it. So we got some sharp, bumpy turns here. BMW guy. I like the weight I'm getting in the steering, but I'm not getting any feedback from the road. I'm getting very, very little feedback from the front tires. But I think it's one of those things, it's an acquired taste. You're going to have to get used to it on this car. I have to look up and see what the option costs to see if it's even worth it, you know, but I don't know, like I'm used to our car with the normal steering, and I dialed in the alignment and I have better tires. So this is a sharp turn here. Let's see how this does. Oh my God. These fucking Dunlops, they suck. I could do that turn there at 75 miles an hour in our car with the Michelins. And I was doing 40 and I literally thought I was going to fly into the grass. Wow. So yeah, I think this is going to be a weird video as far as my feedback, because I think we have an issue with this system and these tires. I don't think they work well together. I think the tires are significantly compromised by the sidewall flex, by the rubber compound, by everything about them. They're just terrible. They're terrible, these tires. So I think a good test, you know, and I am going to do another video when we change the wheels and tires and we get these tires off the car, get rid of them, put them in storage, whatever we want to do with them. But I want to drive this car with the lighter wheels and the better tires. They're going to be wider. We're going to do a 255 square stance all the way around with a 20 by 9. I think it's going to be a 20 by 9 or 20 by 9 and a half. I got to double check to see what we ordered. I think this car is going to feel awesome by reducing the weight of the wheels and getting the better tires on here. Because right now, these tires, man, I would not push this car. I mean, 40 miles an hour, and I got scared. I just don't have confidence in it. Now, our car, you saw my video, I drive the smack out of that thing. You know, that's just because I'm confident with the car. I know its limits. I know the grip. I know the feedback. I know what that car is going to do when I give it input. with this dynamic steering and the tires, it seems like they're opposing each other. You know, they really are. They're totally opposing each other. I'm going to go back to standard now. And like I said, I just don't feel confident pushing this car to do a real enthusiastic drive review right now with these tires in the car. So, sorry about that, but you're going to have to subscribe to my channel and stay tuned, because we're going to get that video up soon, and I'm going to do some more testing on this. And I don't know, I'm up for the challenge. I'm up for the challenge of taking this dynamic steering, put the new wheels and tires on, and dial in the alignment, you know, tweak the settings, a little bit of the toe. We'll play with the toe. We'll see if we can change the caster angle a little bit without going crazy, if we can. And we'll see if we can make this car feel, you know, a little bit more like, you know, a BMW M, you know, from like maybe 5 to 10 years ago. But like I said, that's where technology's going these days. I mean, they're just, you know, overcomplicating cars. I mean, whatever happened with a good hydraulic steering system, like, you know, in the Corvettes, you know, the Corvette that I drove the other day, and it just works. You know, it's a simple system, it works, but, you know, they're trying to cut costs, they're trying to reduce weight, they're trying to follow the trends, and, you know, yeah, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to put the car in personal, no, not personal mode, standard mode. So I got, everything is standard. And now the steering feels normal. It feels like a assisted hydraulic steering. You know, you put it in standard. So I think the computers in this car, between the drive mode select and everything, because look, I don't know if you can see this, you know, you get engine, transmission, steering, suspensions, and sport. You got standard. So you could kind of go through the car and kind of set it the way you want. And then you could set the settings in like a personal mode. That's what I did in our car. You know, personal mode for me is like comfort level when I'm driving locally. So go back here. I want to leave the steering menu open just because I'm changing it on the fly. So now we're in sport mode. Oh, there's a lot of traffic around here. Suspension got a little bit more compliant in Sport than Sport Plus. So this car actually, you know, it does, like I said, in my video, the shock absorbers, what they change, it feels like they're changing rebound. You know, there's a rebound change through the computer, which I noticed it. I could feel it, and I think it's good. It gives the car a little bit more of a sportier feel. You know, even though this is not considered a ultra high performance sedan, but I still think there's a dose of performance that this car will give you for the money. That, you know, a couple little tweaks, like I suggested in my first review, do a couple of tweaks. Now this car in front of us, the Maserati Ghibli. You want to talk about a sedan that drives like crap? Go drive one of those. I'm telling you, that car is a joke. It's a waste. Big waste of money. The dealerships were so desperate to get me to drive that car that they were driving down different versions of that car to my house at 9 o'clock at night, begging me to get one. And I was like, you guys are nuts. I said, the car drives like crap. I don't care. It looks nice. It's got a nice interior. The horsepower's not there. The transmission's terrible. It's just a terrible car, but everybody buys them because, oh, it's a Maserati. They think they have something special. No, man, that car, that's a big disappointment. I think the Maseratis that drove better were the ones from 10 years ago. You know, they had the single clutch F1 type transmission that, you know, it banged, it made noise, it had the V8. You know, it's just like a little bit more of a raw car. Then, I don't know, this new stuff, not a fan. So we're in standard mode with the steering, default on the response, and we have the drive mode select in sport, which is the throttle and the shocks. Yeah, you see there's a lot more roll and play in the steering in the standard mode. So let's switch it to sport, and then we'll switch it to dynamic. Actually, this doesn't feel that bad. So, you know, the quick initial difference between standard in the mode and the response default to now we're in sport mode and steering, response dynamic. And I'm going to say I think this is the sweet spot with this system. From what I'm feeling and from my initial drive and you know, the experience that I have with cars and what I think works, I think this feels, you know, like a synthetic active steering, but let's see. Oh my God, the back of this car rolls with these tires. Look at this, another Ghibli. I saw 4 Ghiblis within like a quarter of a mile from here because everybody around here buys them. I mean, you know, this is a sharp turn. Yeah, I mean the tires, oh my God. So, I'm going to conclude this video that I think the dynamic steering, you know, it might be a viable option. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'll know more when we switch the tires. So, guys, like if you're going to consider this car, you know, this is a tough call. I mean, I don't know how you're going to be able to do a back-to-back test, but maybe you should just wait if you're, you know, you process of car shape. Maybe wait until I get the video up of this car with the better tires and wheels, because, you know, right now I can't really give you a good suggestion. Should you get it or should you not get it? Because the tires are so bad. The sidewalls are rolling so much. They're just a terrible, terrible tire that you can't even do a 40-mile-an-hour exit ramp without feeling scared. The back of the car is rolling so much that, like I said, when I started the camera, it feels like it has an active rear steer. But it doesn't. This car doesn't have that. It's just the slop in the tire. And the input from the front end from this system is so quick that the tires are like they're opposing it, you know, with the physics. It's absolutely amazing. It's unbelievable what a good tire could do to a car. And like I said, Michelin is the best tire out there for performance. I don't care. It's not, you know, it's the priciest. It's, you know, maybe not the quietest or smoothest, you know, ride quality, but if you want performance, you got to step up to the plate and get a Michelin Pilot. Whether it's the all-season, ultra all-season, or the Pilot Super Sports, or, you know, something. But you got to get these Dunlops off this car. Oh my God. So guys, I hope you liked this video. I hope you got some feedback, you know, from what I'm trying to do here. You know, the power delivery, everything's the same, so I'm not going to talk much about that. We already know it's good. I do think the transmission was programmed a little bit better. But I specifically just want to talk about, you know, the facelift that they did on the car, and then I'll talk about the dynamic steering. But hope you guys had a good day. Hope you guys liked this video and liked the content. Please subscribe. Stay tuned. If you're in the process of car shopping or cross-shopping cars, you know, I still think this is, you know, this car should be on your radar instead of getting like an E-Class or even a 5 Series.